Welcome back to the Britt Mayer Show, where we focus on stories that matter to you in culture, politics, faith, and health. Today, we are diving into a crisis that could silence your voice in Sacramento and Washington, California's map redistricting war, and the Democrats' desperate power grab with Proposition 50. This is set for the November 4th ballot, and it would allow Governor Newsom and his Sacramento cronies to redraw congressional maps mid-decade, just in time to flip competitive seats. Newsom claims that it's a fight back against so-called Republican rigging elsewhere, but is this just a shameless excuse to gerrymander conservative voters out of existence? Joining us to discuss this and the government shutdown is Congressman Kevin Kiley from California's 3rd District, a champion for fair elections. He's leading the charge in Congress with a bipartisan bill to stop mid-decade redistricting nationwide and calling Prop 50 what it is, a disenfranchisement scheme. From Fresno's farmers to Roseville's families, we are going to unpack how this affects you, why Newsom is pushing it, and what we can do to stop it. So buckle up. This is a battle for the heart of California, and we are not backing down. Congressman Kiley joins us now. I have been sharing We Heart Nutrition with you guys for a long time, and it's because I truly love not only the company, but the products and how I feel since I've started using them. I am a lifetime Maha. I love making my lifestyle as healthy as it possibly can be, but also as easy as it possibly can be. So We Heart Nutrition aligns with that, but beyond that, they also align with my values. I love that this company makes sure that they donate 10% of all sales back to pro-pregnancy, pro-mama resource centers. It means that my dollars are actually going toward my values and not fighting against them. This specific Wholesome Women's Multi is packed with bioavailable methylated B vitamins, something that is very important to me, and it doesn't cause any of that discomfort that sometimes comes with supplements. All of their products are science-backed for maximum absorption. So not only are you getting the highest quality, but it's actually going in and absorbing and doing what you want it to do. So I would highly recommend grabbing the Wholesome Women's Multi, checking it out, and seeing if you feel better like I do while using this. Grab it at weheartnutrition.com and use code ROOTEDWINGS for an exclusive discount. Again, that's code ROOTEDWINGS at weheartnutrition.com. Mr. Kevin Kiley, Congressman Kevin Kiley, thank you so much for joining us in the middle of what a lot of people are calling unprecedented times. I feel like that's the regurgitating word right now for American politics, unprecedented. So we are in the middle of, at the time of this recording, it's day one of a government shutdown. We are on
That's correct.
October 1st, our government has shut down, and a lot of people are wondering what that really means. So I'm just going to open up the floor and you can explain what this government shutdown truly is and how it affects people.
Yeah, so it means that Congress has allocated money for a given time period when it passes a budget, and honestly, Congress has gotten in some pretty bad habits of not passing budgets on time, and instead just kind of extending the pre-existing budget, which I think is not a good way to govern, but that is how things have been going for quite some time. So in any case, we were out of money. We were out of at least the authorization to spend money as of September 30th. And so in order for the government to continue to be funded and therefore have the ability to operate, it's necessary to pass a new bill, either creating a new budget or extending the pre-existing budget a little longer. But unfortunately, Congress has not managed to do either of those things. Chuck Schumer, in particular, has refused to agree to extend the existing level of funding known as a continuing resolution. And so that means that as of midnight on the 30th, the government has to shut down at least partially. And so any service or personnel that are not considered essential is furloughed or temporarily suspended. So, you still have like your Social Security checks are still going out, the VA is still operating, that sort of thing. But when it comes to like national parks and museums, they're not going to be open. You're having a lot of federal workers getting furloughed, even those who are essential, folks in the military, TSA officers, air traffic controllers. They're actually not even going to be able to get paychecks in a lot of cases. So they'll eventually get the money as back pay, but they'll be missed. So it's not a good thing. It's not where we want to be.
Sure.
But unfortunately, that's where we find ourselves right now.
So what's the all the conversation and chatter about the reason why this is all happening is because what we keep hearing is the Democrats want to give healthcare to illegal foreigners on our taxpayer dime. Is this true? Are there nuances to this, or is that actually why we're in a government shutdown?
Yeah. So what Chuck Schumer decided to do is he said that we're not going to agree to keep the government open unless you agree to a certain set of demands. So it would have been one thing if he had done that and proposed some reasonable items for negotiation, but that's not what he did. He ended up proposing completely unrealistic demands. So for example, we have this bill that was called the Big Beautiful Bill, or we're now
Mhm.
calling it the Working Family Tax Cut Act, whatever you want to call it, HR1, the big bill, the landmark bill, the most significant piece of legislation that's passed this year. Schumer said, okay, I'm going to shut down the government unless you repeal that, or at least repeal large sections of it. That's obviously not a realistic demand. And then, yes, part of what he wants to repeal is protections to assure that illegal immigrants do not receive Medi-Cal benefits. And of course, for us in California, this is not just a theoretical issue or a matter of speculation. Our governor, Gavin Newsom, has indeed provided Medi-Cal to illegal immigrants. He's provided $23 billion worth of Medi-Cal for illegal immigrants over the last couple of years. But that's no longer the policy in California. And one of the reasons for that is we were able to use our tools at the federal level to pressure Newsom to stop doing this, to stop wasting our taxpayer dollars in California on full coverage for illegal immigrants. So that is absolutely part of what makes Senator Schumer's position on this so unreasonable.
Mhm.
And that's why the very fact of him having this unreasonable set of demands, which he knew could never be agreed to, really shows that what he wanted was for the government to shut down, to create
Right.
this confrontation.
And I
So
just want
that's
to
what
add to that because I have been following this and I have gotten so many messages. One of the messages that came through from a nurse in California said regarding free healthcare for illegal immigrants. I had several patients at PACE programs in San Diego who were undocumented and on dialysis. Sometimes they would try to pursue kidney transplants with UCSD or SHARP. It usually didn't work out for various reasons, but altogether, very expensive healthcare. The majority of my undocumented patients had latent TB as well. So this is an actual thing. And I had many, many messages like that from members of our healthcare out here in California saying that this is a true experience, that it's not just people, politicians politicizing and saying something that's not true. This actually is an issue that we are caring for illegal foreigners. And there's something to be said about generosity and charity. It's another thing when the government is robbing citizens to pay for illegal aliens healthcare, which is in fact what's happening.
Well, yeah, and think about this. I mean, Newsom spent so much money on this that it was supposed to only cost a few $1 billion, but then just for the first year, the cost ballooned to 10 billion, and that actually made Medi-Cal in California insolvent. So the governor had to go out and take out an emergency loan
Right.
just to keep the program afloat. And then all of these people who are here illegally that are being enrolled, they sort of take up, slots, or they take up doctor's appointments, or they take up capacity within
Hmm.
our already strained healthcare system that makes it so our own citizens have to wait longer and have to pay higher reimbursement rates and anything else. So it's a double whammy where
Right.
our own taxpayers have to pay for it, and then they also get a lower quality of service.
So essentially what we're seeing then is under Schumer's ideal of America, it would be the Californication of America in terms of
Mhm.
healthcare. Is that accurate to say that?
Well, certainly moving in that direction, yes, because he wants to eliminate safeguards that were put in place to make sure that illegal immigrants are not given coverage using federal dollars. And also, by the way, there are a lot of provisions that he wants to repeal that were designed to root out other forms of fraud, like people who were enrolled in Medi-Cal in multiple states, that sort of thing. So he wants to get rid of all of those reforms, which are really good reforms, but it's also just manifestly unreasonable for him to say that we
Sure.
need to repeal this bill we just passed if you want to keep the
Yeah.
government open.
Why does he want to do this? What's your take from the inside? Why does he really want to push this shutdown? Is it truly because he wants our money to go to illegal aliens? Is that truth?
I think he does not actually want this, but he is captive to a particular, sort of extreme segment of his party, the kind of AOC, wing of the party that are just kind of agitating for any sort of confrontation. And this is what they see as their opportunity to do that. And so Senator Schumer believes that if he does not acquiesce to their demands, then he's going to get an earful and more from that wing of the party.
He's not progressive enough if he can't get this thing stalled.
That's right, or that he won't be viewed as being as disruptive as they want him to be, and and creating chaos like they want him to create, which is what this seems to be all about. Because again, the fact that he made these completely unrealistic demands that he knew would never be a reasonable basis for negotiation gives away that the entire thing was choreographed to actually create the shutdown that we're now in.
How long do you expect that this shutdown is going to last? I did a little research, and I think that the last one we had was actually during Trump's first term. So it seems like they really like to bring on the chaos when Trump is in term. So the last one, I think, was it 2018? Does that sound right?
About
19?
that, yeah.
Okay. And it lasted about 30 days. So
Mhm.
I actually forgot. So it shows that, for me at least, it didn't stand out as being hyper disruptive. COVID was hyper disruptive. I don't remember
Mhm.
quite the government shutdown, but do you expect it to go that long? Are we staring down the barrel of 30 days, or do you think that it's not going to last that long in that
I
pace?
sure hope not. I mean, it's hard to really predict, just because a lot of this is kind of rooted in an irrationality in the first place. So it's hard to kind of guess what that irrationality might spawn. But the reality is that you had three Democrats in the Senate who already voted to open the government again and broke ranks with Schumer. So I wouldn't rule out that we could see a quick resolution, but I also wouldn't rule out that this drags on for some time. But I'm going to be doing whatever I can to get it over with as quickly as possible. It's just not a good thing for the country. It's
No,
very
it's
disruptive.
not. One of the questions I've got, because I did tell people that I was going to be bringing you on to discuss this, and I got two questions that I wanted to ask you. One is, are congressmen and congresswomen still paid during this shutdown time?
Yes.
Okay. And then what about our military?
Military, in some cases, will miss paychecks, and they will eventually get that money back as back pay. But I think it's an awful, terrible thing for our men and women in uniform to potentially miss paychecks because of the failure of our politicians.
Yeah, I saw Ted Cruz put out a statement that he was going to be forwarding any pay he receives during the shutdown to go back, so that he didn't feel right about it going to him if our men and women are in uniform aren't getting paid.
Mhm.
Um, Again, so this could drag out for multiple days. It's not that we have to see this go back to normal within a certain time period. It can just keep on dragging out.
Correct. I mean, what will end the shutdown is when we pass a bill to fund the government, and so the House has done that. It's the Senate that has failed to do so.
What is it looking like there for you, just in conversation in Congress? Are tensions high? Is there a lot of theater? What's the feeling like? Because you're in the belly of the beast right now. Take us onto the inside? What is it like right now?
I think there's a lot of frustration that we're being dragged into this for reasons that are not entirely clear. I think that on the Democrat side, there actually are quite a few people who would like to find a path out of this. Hopefully that will eventually and quickly lead to something constructive where we can actually kind of move on to the issues that really matter, rather than being stuck in this manufactured, self-created crisis.
I agree, especially just for our men and women in uniform. I want to get us back up and going. There's a part of me that says just shut the whole thing down and get rid of the bloat while we're at it. But then that factor that we're also, not taking care of our men and women in uniform is not good. And we need to get this thing figured out. Okay, let's shift into what I initially had called you on to chat through. Is because you represent California, and you're on the front lines of the fight against all of this, is the redistricting maps in California. There's a lot of confusion about what this is about, why we're even doing this. So I want you to open up the floor, I guess, first for you to just kind of set the stage about Proposition 50 in California, the special election, and what exactly it is. So maybe just give a brief explanation of it, and then we'll go into some of the concerns.
Sure. So this is an attempt by Gavin Newsom to hyper gerrymander California uh, in a way that would potentially reduce, or at least his stated goal is to reduce the number of Republican members of Congress from California from 9 out of 52 to 4 out of 52. And he's done that by drawing a map that is completely engineered to minimize Republican representation with crazy shapes. My district would kind of resemble an elephant with a trunk that's drawn such a way as to collect Democrat voters. Now, what's especially troubling about this is that, number one, we're not supposed to be doing redistricting at all right now. You're only supposed to do that once every 10 years after the census at the beginning of the decade. But Newsom has decided he needs to grab for these extra seats right now. But even worse than that is that he and the legislature have no authority to draw maps. California voters have repeatedly stated that politicians should not draw maps in our state. Instead, they've set up an independent citizens commission to do that. So what Newsom has decided is that he doesn't want the commission to do this anymore. He's trying to push them aside and force the map that he's drawn upon our state, tearing up the one that's been in place that the independent commission drew. Now, in order to do that, he has to actually go and get approval from voters, because it was the voters themselves who set up the independent commission in the first place. So that's what Prop 50 is an initiative that is on the ballot. You're going to get your ballot in the mail this week that says vote yes, and thereby abolish the state's independent commission, adopt the map drawn by Gavin Newsom, and return California to the era of political gerrymandering.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that sets the stage for this. So it just got released by the Los Angeles Times today. And I actually went and got a copy of my voter guide because I live in California. And so here's what was just released. The Los Angeles Times reported that California voters were mailed inaccurate guides ahead of the November special election. And then, of course, I ran over to your account to see what you were saying, what your take was on this, Kevin. And you said, I am calling for Prop 50 to be rescheduled to abide by existing statutory and constitutional timelines. This latest outrageous error will cost millions to correct. A Banana Republic style election based on misinformation and voter suppression will do grave damage to our state. So I thought, okay, I'm going to grab my little guide and see if my guide is in fact inaccurate. And for those listening who can't see it, this is my legitimate guide that came in the mail. And I have a red circle around this little district up north that says 22. And then you go south a little bit, and there's another little district that says 22. So there is, in fact, a very serious error on this guide that went out to California voters. What in the world is going on, and what does this mean? Kevin, I can't believe it.
It's so insane. So Newsom's faced two major challenges in making this happen. Number one, there wasn't enough time to hold this special election to throw out the map and bring in his new map in time for it to be used in the 2026 election. And then his second problem was that the voters do not want this. So how does he overcome these two challenges? Number one, he just throws out every single piece of election law that exists in our Constitution or in our statutes. So we have laws that say you have to have like 120 days before an election actually happens when you propose an initiative. You have laws that specify how many days in advance you have to get the voter guides and how much time you have to give voters to process the ballot arguments and all this sort of thing that are designed to promote a true democratic deliberative process. All of that thrown out the window. So they've rushed this thing to the ballot as quickly as they can in order to make it so the map can be used in 2026. And because everything is being done so hastily, you're getting ridiculous errors like the one you just pointed out, where we have two District 22s in this new map. So by the way, this thing is costing $282 million just to hold this special election. It's now going to cost millions more to send corrections for that erroneous voter guide.
So I was wondering I was like, well, how are they going to correct it? Right. Because it's a total fail. It's not correct. So how are they going to fix this? Oh, they're sending out postcards. Don't worry. They're going to send out
Millions more dollars just to correct this ridiculous error. By the way, there's all kinds of other problems with the rush timeline. Like they're having to do fewer polling places. They're doing fewer voting centers. A lot of the polling places people usually use have already been booked. So then they're going to have to find other polling places. The polling place you usually use might not even be there. People have less time to review the ballot arguments and everything else. So it's all about voter suppression. So that's the first problem that he's solved, is getting this done in time to have the new map in place for 2026. He does that simply by having the most hastily arranged election in state history that defies all of our laws about elections. But he still has the second problem, which is people don't actually want this. The vast majority of voters are against gerrymandering and support the independent commission. And so his solution to that problem is very simple. It's outright fraud. The ballot itself, in your sample ballot there, has a totally fraudulent description of what this thing would do that is designed to mislead voters. And then we're all seeing this fraud in his commercials as well. He's brought in $70-80 million so far, 10 million from George Soros, vast sums from special interests to try to confuse voters. So that's what he's done. That's their game plan.
Okay, walk us through that. Walk us through what's confusing about this, because people are going to listen and they're going to say, okay, well, I don't want to be confused. So explain that. What is it about the descriptions that could confuse voters?
So there's a lot of things there. So first of all, it says it's just temporary changes. That's not true. These changes will last through the duration of what that map of the existing map would have lasted. It says this is being done in response to the partisan Texas redistricting, which is designed to get people to think, oh gosh, did Texas come in and somehow mess with our map in California? And we need to set things right. It says it directs the independent commission to resume redrawing maps. The independent commission is already there, but they already would have redrew maps again at the beginning of the next decade. What this initiative does is sidelines them for the remainder of this decade. It has a wildly lowball estimate for what the cost of things are going to be, and on and on and on. The whole thing is absolutely designed to confuse voters. And then we see Newsom's ads that say, oh no, this is preserving the independent commission and it's giving voters a choice. Could not be further from the truth. It's pushing aside the independent commission. It's undermining the will of voters.
Who writes this? Because I'm reading it right now, the sample that you just went over, and you were completely accurate with how it describes this measure. But who decides how it's written so that voters who are otherwise ignorant read it and think, oh, it doesn't seem that bad?
Yes, the California Attorney General.
The California, is that Rob Bonta? Who's the California? Rob Bonta. So he's kind of like how Kamala Harris did this in the past.
Exactly. Yep. Huge problem.
Zero checks and balances on how this is explained.
That's right.
Okay, I hate that so much. Let's talk, though, about I wanted to ask you this, about the quote unquote response to Texas's partisan redistricting, because that is what Gavin Newsom's account has been running with. Lord have mercy on that account right now. I can't. Kevin, have you been watching his X account? I mean,
it's ridiculous.
A for effort. Okay. I want to see memes with sombreros. I mean, that would be impressive. Okay. But talk me through that. What does he mean when he says that this is in response to Texas's partisan redistricting?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing is it's really bizarre to have that be the actual summary of what the initiative would do. Like, that might be his motivation for it, he might argue, or the reason they're doing it. But the summary of the initiative on the ballot is supposed to just tell you what this initiative will do. This initiative has zero to do with Texas. It's changing California's electoral election laws and changing California's congressional map. So Newsom, of course, is saying, well, we're just doing this to somehow counterbalance what Texas has done. It's a little different because Texas does not have an independent commission, and whereas California does. And by the way, California's map, even right now, before Newsom's doing what he's doing, is more imbalanced than Texas's is even after this redistricting that they've done. But be all of that as it may, it's like this test of kindergarten logic, right? 2 wrongs does not make a right. So even if we don't like what's going on in other states, which to be honest, I don't like what's going on in other states. I think redistricting should be done once a decade. I don't like gerrymandering wherever it happens, but it has nothing to do with what's going on in California. So he's trying to, and here's the most important point, which is that Newsom has wanted to get rid of the independent commission. The Democratic Party in California was the lead opponent of the creation of the independent commission. Nancy Pelosi helped lead the charge against establishing the independent commission. They don't like it being there because it limits their ability to some extent to massively gerrymander the state. So they've been waiting for any pretext to come in and just get rid of it, abolish it, end it. And that's exactly what they're doing here.
Because this, let's take that to the logical conclusion. Because would you say then that this effort would secure their blue power in California more confidently than if there is an independent commission in place?
Well, of course, yeah, because the independent commission, and this is in the Constitution as established by California voters, they are not allowed to consider partisanship and how they draw the lines. They're not allowed to consider, is it going to benefit this politician or that politician? They're required to keep communities together in as much as possible. Whereas the map that Newsom has drawn, literally what they did is said, how do we get the most Democratic seats out of this? He said that. And he explicitly said his purpose, and this is an exact quote from Newsom, was to make California a whole lot bluer. And to quote, pick up 5 seats. That's what he said he's doing with this map. There's no secret about it at all.
That should be, why don't we put that in the explanation on Prop 50? That should be right there. I mean, taken from the horse's mouth. Okay, what if Prop 50 passes? I want to know the direct impact on communities, let's say farmers out in Fresno or small business owners out in El Dorado County, suburban families, and I want to know direct impact on Californians and how that will affect their voice when it comes to politics, especially in light of what we have seen in California. There is a trend of California going redder. So talk me through what the direct impact would be for everyday Californians if this passes.
Yeah, well, it's going to mean we have a much more imbalanced congressional delegation. It's going to mean that communities get torn apart. My own district will get blown into 6 different pieces, going in 6 different directions, and including the elephant district that I mentioned before. You're going to have these wildly shaped districts like north of where I am, several of the very rural counties up there, very conservative rural counties like Modoc County, for example, will be combined with counties in the Bay Area, like Marin County. So have communities that could not be more different and have very different representatives right now will suddenly be grouped together. Or just for regardless of where you live, you may well lose the ability to vote for your current representative, whoever that might be. You might like them, you might not like them, but you'll lose the ability to vote for them. So like in my district, for example, there's, as I said, it goes 6 different ways. So wherever I would end up running, like most people wouldn't be able to vote for me.
No, because it takes anything that is pretty red and absorbs it into blue to turn it into a bluish purple.
That's right. That's the whole idea, is basically they've chosen 4 districts in California to try to pack as many Republican voters into as possible. So then there are fewer Republican voters in all the other districts.
Unbelievable. It just seems on its face so illegal and so manipulative. Okay,
well,
let's
it's
talk
absolutely
about
outrageous. And
it is outrageous. And I mean, and that's even aside from the $282 million that's being spent on the first send, and now millions more on the postcards that are
right.
Oh no. Okay. You are leading the charge with a bipartisan bill in Congress to ban mid-decade redistricting nationwide. This is something that you have picked up to champion. So I want to know what sparked you to take this fight to Washington, and then how that ties into what we're seeing in California, and if that could cause anything in regards to this California redistricting, or if that's totally separate.
Yeah, no, if my bill were to pass, it would put the kibosh on Newsom's whole scheme. So this is the one lever I have available as a member of the U.S. House to try to bring this to a halt. And of course, it wouldn't apply just to our state. It would apply to any state that undertakes the extremely disruptive process of tearing up its congressional map in the middle of the decade. So I think it's the right thing for California. I think it's the right thing for the country. And I think that there's a lot of people who support it in Congress if it ever came up for a vote.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing. For our listeners who are listening to all this from Sacramento down to San Diego, what do they need to do and know before this November 4th election possibly rolls around, if it does, if the postcards go out in time, if they still continue on, to protect fair elections? And then do you think that this will still chug along, even given the fact that there was clearly error in how this was all handled?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still going to happen, we just need to make sure that people know the truth. Like, if people know the truth about what this thing really does, then they will reject it because voters are overwhelmingly against this. Newsom's entire campaign is about confusion and fraud and breaking the rules of our electoral process in order to ram through the outcome that he wants. So we just need to make sure people know the truth and that voting no is what will reject Newsom's scheme, that voting no is what will preserve independent redistricting and fair elections in California.
And then when do you think that we will see those official ballots in our mailboxes?
Any day now. I mean, really, the next several days, I think that they should be arriving.
Okay. And then one last question would be for the independents or even the Democrats who may or may not tune into this. I don't know. But for those conservatives who are listening who know the Democrats that are still level headed, what would you tell them in regards to this? Because this is definitely a partisan issue. But what would your position be with those voters in why they also need to vote no on this?
Well, it's really not much of a partisan issue. If you look at surveys of California
And you're
voters,
right. I should say that Gavin Newsom has made this
he's made it a
partisan.
partisan issue, of
Yes.
course, right? So
Yes.
that's a great distinction. Is to look past the rhetoric and look to the underlying reality, which is that the effect of this initiative is to get rid of the independent commission and the map that it drew for our elections in California. And the vast majority of Democrats, Republicans, and independents support our independent commission doing the map drawing. So this is an election whose explicit and only purpose is to undo something that is supported by the vast majority of Californians of every party. Democrats voters have long supported independent redistricting in California. The party is another matter. The party has not. The party itself opposed the creation of independent redistricting, but Democratic voters support it. So if you support independent redistricting and fair elections, Democrats, Republicans, and independents should all come together to vote no on Prop 50.
It's a great rallying cry. So vote no on 50. Wait for those little postcards to get in your mailbox. They may or may not arrive before the ballot actually arrives.
Right.
But the most important thing to know is it's a hard no on 50 out here in California. Kevin Kiley, always appreciate having conversations with you. Thank you for being so level-headed and for fighting the good fight out there, and go get back to the shutdown business out there.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. I appreciate it.